It has a little ribbon cord, but yeah, there
Oh,
it is.
there it is. There it is. Okay, great. Well, that's good. That way we didn't lose some of that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just kind of start over. Hey guys, I'm gonna facilitate Zoom tonight for OMA Task 3. OMA Task 3 was basically looking at the school's master schedule, assessing the schedule in terms of how well it was aligned to state mandates by law, and also how well it addresses the needs that are identified and analyzed through the school improvement plan, in addition to making recommendations for changes. So that's kind of basically in a nutshell. So we'll go ahead and get started with our peer reviews. And whoever wants to go first, you can go ahead and share your reviews.
I had Tracy as one. I guess I'll start with that. As far as content is aligned with the course content for OMA Task 3. Candidate gives solutions for areas of improvement. It is evident that the knowing influences the doing due to the charts on MMS schedule non-negotiables. Rubric strength, paper is well organized. I thought that the for us this mean was powerful and shows the reader the importance of the non-negotiables. Candidate addresses the prompts. Rubric weakness, I just mentioned that the spacing with the paper, and it could be because I know you have a Mac or something you mentioned before, and the chart, one of the charts wasn't all the way on the paper. If you could fix that, but it could be because of your computer. And I have a, what do I have? HP, so it could be because of that. I'm not sure. Leadership, the candidate showed leadership assessing the strengths and weaknesses of the schedule. The candidate created possible solutions to benefit the needs of the school. The candidate added adequate time for intervention, enrichment, and remediation during the school day. This shows how the candidate is ensuring all students are getting what they need to be successful. Candidate addresses the EC department, which, as discussed in Zoom sessions, should be the priority. Mechanical errors or grammar, I said great work. Organization, I said the paper was well organized and detailed. I thought the candidate did a great job and the plan looks awesome.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And I'll go ahead and do Tracy's too, because I did hers too. And I also said that the alignment was the knowing influence to doing. The charts and the tables were very informative. The tasks aligned with the course content, and it was very well written. The rubric strength, I said the gap analysis per chart had been given much thought with the reader understood the needs assessment and the growth plan. And then for the rubric weakness, I put that the component of the prompts were not in a heading that was specific to what the growth plan included. I don't know exactly what I meant by that because I did this a couple weeks ago. So I would actually have to go back to the paper and look and see what that meant. Leadership, I said the growth plan showed extreme leadership qualities and some of the narratives featured analytical, and it featured analytical observations that referred to the prompt. Some of the words in the sentences were blue. I don't know if it was something that was copied only for mechanics and grammar. And like I'm like Ashley, I think it's because when we send these things off, I think that it does get too many spaces between the titles and all that. So I think that it does do something funky. I think even when I send mine, the spelling and the grammar was correctly pasted within the paper. It was very well written and logically organized, and the headings and the subheadings were identified, and the organization, it was just great. The APA formatting, cited work in the text, what I looked at didn't have a reference page, so there wasn't any cited in the text, but pictures should be labeled as figures. I think I put my pictures as figures. So that's the only thing, but that was an awesome paper. I enjoyed every bit of what I read, really on everybody's that I did.
Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good, Tracy. All right. So, does anybody else want to say anything else about Tracy? Are we good to go?
I'm sure we've all redid them anyway by now.
Well, Tracy, did you want to comment on anything about your paper or anything that you could maybe give us insight on, or?
I mean, no, I found like I always feel task 3 is a challenge, even though I've been through this and doing it, putting it all on paper and making sure to include everything. I feel sometimes is a daunting task, but I feel like doing it the second time around, because we've revamped again this year, I feel like each time it gets a little bit easier and you look at different sources doing it, but it's definitely super important to your school and to your staff morale. So definitely an important task. And this helped me learn a lot more about why we do it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so let's move on to another peer review. If it's okay, I would like to go ahead and give my first review on Carol's paper for task 3. Starting with the content, it was successfully aligned. Can y'all hear me? Just make sure y'all can hear me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Content successfully aligned with the course content and appropriate external sources when directed to do so or when needed to support decisions and facts in the narrative. Again, the knowing successfully influences the doing throughout the course of the narrative. I kind of like that statement because it just kind of indicates that there's foundation for why we do what we do in terms of the research, whether it's, looking at research from books or just doing interviews or going back and forth discussing things with people at our school. But her knowing doesn't influence the doing. She did a good job with organizing the task by grouping information in a logical format. She followed the rubric, so that's what makes it logical. She's thorough with regards to information to benefit the understanding of the school's master schedule. I did notice that she had each component. She incorporated the strengths and weaknesses of the schedule. She incorporated the school improvement team findings. That was very detailed. She discussed legal requirement alignments as well for the collaboration, planning, and instruction, in addition to the needs of diverse and exceptional populations. And she went into more detail in regards to that as well by specifying those subgroups and what was being done. In terms of the schedule and how it meets those needs. Evidences of input from faculty and utilization of findings for basis for revising the current schedule. Did not notice any areas of weakness. And I did state that she showed a very strong indication of leadership by conveying analysis of the master schedule and discussing recommendations for changes with that were given to school administration. Furthermore, the suggestions, in my opinion, were improvements in regards for all students to make sure that she's addressing the needs of all students. And I think that was something that I had to really make sure I was doing as I was making, trying to make adjustments. I just kept asking myself, am I doing this so that it impacts all students or will benefit all students? So I can tell Carol did definitely keep that into consideration. The artifact was written professionally in terms of formal language use in sentence structure. Once again, any acronyms were defined during the first use. Correct grammar and spelling was utilized throughout the text. And again, it was organized logically and professionally. Her headings and subheadings were clearly presented and easy to locate throughout the text. And then she had in-text citations, tables, graphs, and visuals. Everything was in place and cited correctly. So that was my review of Carol. Does anybody else want to go who had Carol?
I can. Let me pull it up real quick. Hold on 1 second. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I said for Carol's. Carol, I'll go ahead and say now I thought you did a really good job, fabulous job with this. And I said that the content is aligned with the course content. I love the picture that you paint of First Ward and really enjoyed hearing about the basis for the magnet concept. I love the idea of the arts being infused into all classes. I thought that was a really cool idea that could benefit every student. I felt that you did a great job looking at the strengths and weaknesses of your school's current schedule. I love the idea of adding band and orchestra, but can also see what it has done to the schedule to cause some chaos. You went so into depth with your non-negotiables. Nice work on that. I really didn't see much of a weakness except for what you noted in the comment to Dr. Lamb about still waiting on some information, and I noted that that was out of your control. Leadership is thrown throughout your careful analysis of the strong and weak points of your schedule. Your careful breakdown gave a great picture of the daily life at First Ward. I felt that your article was written professionally. Acronyms are identified and used throughout. Grammar and format looks good. There were a few spelling errors, but I think this was in your very rough draft there. I know that you were aware of that, and it was still in rough draft form is what I said at that time. I felt like the article was written professionally in a logical format that was organized and very professional. All headings and subheadings were clearly presented, and I found your evidence to be very easy to locate. And I felt like all citations, tables, and graphs were cited properly. Nice job. I thought you did a really great job on that.
I think this was the hardest one I've had to do so far. I don't know how I feel about it, but I think this was the hardest one.
Carol, what made it most challenging for you? Task 3.
Well, I think not knowing I think having to depend on other people was one thing.
Yeah.
I think just organizing and trying to think about how, although I know how our schedule was hurting us, how everybody else is impacted. Because we have 2 double special days, which because we departmentalize in 5th grade, it takes away from that afternoon block 2 days a week. But see, where the other classes that don't departmentalize, they love double specials because they have 2 90-minute planning blocks. It doesn't benefit our students. If I had my kids all day, it wouldn't be as bad because I could compensate somewhere. But because I have 2 different blocks, it really hurts that learning part. But I think just the organization of typing this paper up was just really hard for me to grasp. I think it was more of administrator type looking at thing rather than a teacher looking at thing. And I think that was what's hardest for me.
Mm.
And I definitely agree. Like being in the administrator role, Carol, I felt like some of what your schedule was not student driven. You know what I mean? I think when whoever chose it thought it would be, but then they need to realize that it's not in the best interest of students. It's great things, but when you're taken away from some of their academics, that's not good either.
And see, I know that I've always heard that the EC kids and the ones with special needs, that schedule needs to be built around them first. Yeah. And then, but that is not like that. We have kids pulled out of literacy or math. And so, and then when I get them my whole math block, but the teacher that teaches them literacy, he doesn't get them because they're pulled out for math instruction. We have heart math at 11:30, and if you have literacy from 9:30 to 12, you get pulled out 30 minutes from literacy again, which is hurting her intervention time. And I think the concept is good. I don't think it works for departmentalization, not how she set up.
I think like if you had never tried it, looking at it, you would be like, oh, this looks great. We're going to be able to offer all these things, but then in practice, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
All right, I'm happy to go next. I have Ashley next and Christina. I did 3 peer reviews, so I'm happy to do one on everybody. Christina, you want me to go with you?
Yeah. What I was going to ask though, before we had moved on, I was going to ask Ashley if she wanted to suggest or say anything about why maybe task 3 was challenging for her too. Was there anything in particular that made it appear to be maybe a little more challenging? Because I kind of agree with Carol. It was one that I kind of struggled with. Not in terms of not grasping what to do, but it just seemed like the more information I gathered, it seemed like I felt like it was getting out of control. It was getting longer and longer and longer.
I don't think for me, as far the research and trying to understand everything probably was difficult for me because I'm not a classroom teacher, and it just made me look at why people get upset when I can't have their class, because I guess they have something, I'm sure teachers have something else to do, but as the counselor, I'm also the 504 coordinator, I'm the IST coordinator, and I have to do suicide interventions. So I'm out of the building a lot because I'm constantly at training, or I have to help with somebody else's team if there's a crisis. So oftentimes teachers get upset when I'm not there. And so I guess it just made me realize why they're so upset, because I am in rotation, and if I'm not there, then they have to sit with their class when they could be planning or attending PLCs. So I guess that made sense for me. But at the same time, I guess when I become an administrator, I would try my best, if I'm at the elementary level, to not have my counselor in a rotation, because, and I tried to do that, but it was with PLCs and us being so small, it wasn't easy. But I mean, to me, I feel like I should be in PLCs, and I really feel like the media specialists should be in PLCs, because they're over the AR program. They know that data. They know who's taking these AR tests, which classrooms has this. And it's just like, in order to get people there, you need extra bodies to kind of like babysit the classrooms.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's just my perspective.
Okay, Tracy, you can go ahead.
I was going to say, Christina, one of the things, being on the other side, going from a teacher to an admin, the one thing that I find that I constantly have to remind my staff about now is we are servant leaders. We're here for our children. And so that schedule is probably not going to make every single teacher happy, but as long as they understand the why behind, and the why is that it is for children, I think is what's most important. So trying to help them understand that we have jobs because of the children in that building. And that's what we need to remember first. It doesn't make the most popular person, but
I will say, my perspective has really shifted more so this semester. Kind of like what Dr. Stebbin was saying, eventually our perspectives will shift from that teacher perspective into administrative role perspective. And I've noticed with this semester here, it's shifted on a different level. And I pulled myself away from some people, not in a bad way, but it's just that there's some things that I notice that when peers mention certain things, I see it from a different side now. And I guess it's just because of what we've been doing. So I just think that's interesting too. Okay, Tracy, you can go ahead.
Oh, let me unmute a second because my doggies were barking. All right, so Christina, I'll go ahead with yours if that's okay. All right, so Christina, I said that your task content is aligned with the course content. The knowing definitely influenced the doing. I felt like you did a great job describing the dynamics at your school, and I love the steps listed to creating a strong schedule with data as the driving force. Sorry, I'm being tongue-tied today. And then I said, as stated above, the steps to creating a strong schedule supported by data were outlined, and the knowing strongly supported your doing. I didn't see any outlying weaknesses in your task. I felt that leadership was demonstrated by the areas that you used to drive the creation of the schedule. And I really liked how you used the teacher's input via the teacher's working conditions survey, and how you highlighted that in different graphs and charts in your paper. I felt like the artifact was written in a professional manner with formal language, sentence structure, etc. Your acronyms were identified, and all grammar and spelling looked good, and the format was on point. The artifact was structured in a manner that is logical, organized, and professional. You really laid out the steps and worked with the prompt perfectly. I felt like your headings and subheadings were clearly presented, and your evidence supported all of the prompts throughout the entire paper. I'm so sorry. Your in-text citations, tables, graphs, and works were cited properly. I thought you did a really, really, really good job. Like I said, I really liked those steps that you listed to creating the strong schedule and having the data behind it as your driving force. Nice work.
Thank you, Tracy.
Have y'all put all of yours together?
I
haven't yet.
Mine is 60, 5 pages.
You already submitted yours?
Yep,
Oh, you mean the entire Alma?
the entire one.
Oh, mine's gonna be over 70 when I submit
I
mine.
thought that was terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
mine was 110. I submitted
Oh,
it last week.
yeah.
Past stream. Yeah, it was 110 pages, which I thought was nuts.
Tracy, did you want to give another peer review of somebody?
I can do Ashley's. Ashley, I did 3, so I did yours too. Let me just find it here. Sorry, my dog wants up on the couch because he has a bad back. So I'm gonna put him up on the couch and then I'll get started.
While she's looking for that, I was looking at the schedule and I don't see what the timeline as far as updating that to our portfolio. Did you see that someplace?
So when I submitted the task 4 for the clinical coach, I submitted that and they told me to go ahead and submit my whole thing into TaskStream.
That's what I do too.
So I just went ahead and submitted it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that like you seen on a schedule, correct?
They're doing it as you turn it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as I sent that, I did task 4 last Sunday and I sent it in to the clinical coach and I forgot to put that I was the candidate. So I had to go back and fix some of the language in it. And then I redid it, resubmitted it, and they said it was good. They told me to put it all together. Then I submitted it to Dr. Stedman and to Dr. Lamb for review, and they told me to put it into TaskStream.
Okay.
So I went ahead and
just
did that. But as far as, I think task 4 was just due today.
Yeah, I think I submitted that. I don't know why I thought it was due last week.
It was, task 4 was due on the 11th, and he has a review due for Alma 4, but he told us we didn't have to do 4. So really, nothing's due today.
Yeah, okay. It was due last week.
Yeah.
All right, Ashley.
It was due last.
Real quick so we don't run out of time. I said the task is aligned with the course content. Decisions are supported by facts, and the knowing definitely influence what you're doing. Your entire paper I felt was very, very strong, Ashley, with great examples of what life was like at Madison Elementary. I was excited to see about your school's success this past year and know how thrilled they had to be to meet their goals. I felt like that was awesome. I really did not see weaknesses in your paper. Would love to see this, and I just said I would love to see the staff's reaction to your proposals that you had made. I felt that leadership is displayed throughout your paper in the strong manner that you laid out the description and detailed the process of looking at and assessing the schedule. I felt that the artifact was written professionally with formal language and proper sentence structure. All grammar, spelling, and format looked good. And I said the artifact is structured in a manner that is logical, organized, and professional. I felt like all of your evidence was very easy to locate. I didn't have to, go searching around. And I felt like your AP formatting looks good. And I thought you did a super job on that. So I'm going to stop talking because we have 10 minutes. So I'm going to let everybody else talk. But great job, Ashley.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do my peer review on Ashley, and then we can move on to any other peer reviews that we have left. Ashley, you had a very good task. Once again, it was well organized. The content was successfully aligned to the rubric and the requirements of the rubric. Your narrative was very explanatory in terms of, the school itself, the description, the way you started off, and then your assessment of the schedule. You did include all components that were required: strengths and weaknesses, alignment to the school improvement plan. You did mention the legal requirements in terms of state mandates, what's needed for diverse and exceptional populations to meet their needs, the input from faculty, and the utilization of findings. I did indicate that there were no weaknesses. I believe you displayed leadership by conveying a strong analysis of the schedule. Your recommendations, I wanted to pinpoint those out, allowing 1 hour for PLCs, an hour of debrief planning afterwards, increased reading instructional minutes, add 4th and 5th grade guiding reading and secure subs for PD days instead of using assistants. And I did feel that you considered literacy as a component when you were trying to make those adjustments. And I think sometimes people fail to realize or forget that literacy in and of itself is one of the most important skills that we've got to build for students so they can be successful in all content areas. So that is very important. The artifact was professionally written. Formal language, you identified the acronyms as needed. You also provided logical, organized, professional flow through your paper. The headings and subheadings were clearly presented, and the evidence is easy to locate. And you did have your proper citations, and your tables and graphs were also embedded within the task. But I did enjoy your graphs throughout the task. I think you do really good graphs to show the flow of logic and thinking. So I pulled ideas from that as well.
Thank you.
And I also had Ashley.
You did?
I did, because I looked at the schedule and it said I had Tracy and Ashley. So I don't know if I'm wrong or not. But that's what I did.
No, you were right.
Okay.
I just did 3.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But the content is amazing. I'm like you. I like her graphs, but I like yours too, which I like everybody's. I do. I think we all do different, and I think it's awesome what I see. So, but I said that most of the components of the prompt was listed, and she did have some stuff she said was missing, and of course that's what I noted. The narrative was very well written, and the knowing influenced the doing. Her growth plan was specific to the needs of the school, and after I read through it thoroughly, I really liked the format. Some of the components of the prompt I think should be easily found, and it was easily found, and I didn't have to look for them. Most of the information from the prompt was written in table form. I had to go back up and check the things off from the prompt, which was still easy to check off. The paper demonstrated great leadership abilities, and the paper featured analytical observations specific to the roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders. Growth plan showed great leadership skills. There was no spelling or grammatical errors, and it was written in formal language and used correct sentence. It was very well written. The paper was written uniquely. And should the tables be identified as figures? I'm not sure about tables. And formatting, like I said, when we submit them, I think sometimes they just get offline. So, but it was good. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great paper.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Tracy, I wanted to ask you a question in regards to scheduling, since you're in the admin role, because this is something that I came across at my school. I was told that the district had a large input on scheduling as well. So I noticed that the teacher input is not where it should be after I did my survey. And I mean, I know that as well as a teacher, input is not where it needs to be. So is that something that's standard for your area as well? With you being an administrator, do you guys get a lot of mandates from district, or is it just kind of left up to the principals?
No, I would say that we don't get any mandate from the district per se saying your schedule has to look like this. One of the things that drives our schedule, of course, is our data, number one. How are our children doing? What do we need to do to meet our needs, the needs of our children? But number two, I guess if you would say, does the district drive anything? It's in our allotment of teachers. So you have to build your schedule around the faculty that you have. So where we talked about exceptional children, EC students, I have to build that schedule around how many EC, teachers that I have, how many EC students that I have, who's inclusion, who is maybe resource, who is self-contained. And we do take teacher input, but the biggest thing I think seeing on this side is the teacher input for what's best for students, or is the teacher input what's best for teachers? Because we have, our teachers have a 90-minute planning every day, a 30-minute lunch every day. So they basically have 120 minutes of planning. And when, you know, we came to them because our students have a 30-minute lunch, and teachers are supposed to have that protected time, but they also have 90 minutes of planning. And we had some issues because our children were getting in trouble in lunch sometimes because they have too much time. Middle school children eat in about 7 minutes and they're done, and then they're getting into trouble. And so when we went and kind of talked to the teachers about that, that's one thing the teachers wouldn't budge on. And so we didn't force it, but I mean, the schedule is driven by what the students need. Like I said, our district office, but I'm in a tiny district. So you have to remember we're one middle school in the whole district. So
Okay.
the only thing that it would affect is how many teachers we get. So like our 7th grade is predicted to be over 550 children next year. So they're going to have to give us 2 more teachers, which allows us to do a little more with the schedule, you know, offer maybe another honors class here and there. But really, they don't tell us. We have to present it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't tell us. We have less than 1 minute.
Has anybody started to skip?
Nope.
I've just read over it. That's it. Haven't started. Well, thanks, guys. I think the reviews were great. Good luck to you as you move forward. Keep me and everyone else in your prayers. We're almost there. I'm trying to convince myself. But anyway, thanks, Tracy, for your help on setting up the Zoom. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.